Oh my God, what have I got myself into? Here I am, driving down the Seward Highway with this crazy man, smoking this massive doobie, and at my foot is this revolver. What's going to happen?
Here we are in New Zealand. Had a heck of a few weeks here. I mean, we're really into it.
That's what we do.
We've had a good week this week. Shot some awesome content of the farm today. Tell everybody who you are.
Hello everybody, I'm Shane Johnston of Four Seasons Safaris New Zealand. So, born and bred Kiwi, which is what a New Zealander is known as, and I started my outfitting business back in 1996. So it's 2024, so it's a fair few years ago. And it's been a real exciting journey for us. And we get hunters from all around the world. People that are some of the most experienced hunters of the world, to people that have never even picked up a rifle before, and everybody in between. It's something that I'm very, very passionate about and very proud to be a part of. And the industry is a very strong industry, and it's really important that we encourage our youth, our family and our friends to engage in the outdoor activities and obviously with what we do, particularly hunting. Kyle, you're a keen hunter.
Yeah, I do love it.
Tell people how you and I got together. How do we know each other? Your accent's quite a bit different to mine.
Just a little bit. Me and Shane got together years ago, maybe 6 or 7 years ago now, and I always wanted to move to New Zealand and live here and hunt red stag. It was always a big dream of mine because I loved elk hunting, and elk hunting was my favorite thing to do, so I thought the next pinnacle of that style hunting would be the red stag roar, just like hunting elk in the rut, you know, in the Rockies. So with a turn of events that was happening in my life, I was ready for a change, and I started looking to New Zealand, found Shane's outfit. I did a bit of research on his website. I looked at all his stuff that he had out there, and I thought that maybe he could use a hand, not only in the guiding world, but helping him run his outfit and operation. So I sent him an email explaining who I was, and I think it was fate because Shane was looking for somebody that I explained that I was.
Well, actually, if I can just interject there, Kyle, I actually wasn't looking for anyone at all. I had staff, I had guides, I had a farm manager, and I get a lot of inquiries from people that want to engage with us within our industry to become guides or employees. And to me, you were just another one of those, and I respect everybody that reaches out to us, and I probably would have replied to you, thanks very much, but we're actually pretty right with staff at the moment, but I'll file your name and contact details for maybe a later day. And you in turn got back to me and go, well, just so that you know, these are all the things that I can do. Would you like me to send you a resume? And I thought at that stage, you're quite persistent, Kyle, which I quite like. He's keen, he wants to do something, he wants to sell himself. So by all means, mate, send your details. So you sent me your details, and I was actually very impressed with the criteria that you've had with your experience in your life, things that you've done and things that you're doing at that stage. And I in turn got back to you and said, well, I'm still not interested in taking you on. However, you have perked my interest, so why don't you send me a couple of references? And it was the references that sold you. Because one of the ladies, I'd love to meet her. However, I couldn't get her off the phone. In fact, towards the end of the conversation, which was about half an hour, so I'm calling from New Zealand to America, and she was crying in the end. She didn't want to lose you, and you know who that is. And she dear lady, and God bless her. She said, look, if you're ever going to take anyone on, this is a person you need to take on, and all the reasons of why. And she was very sorry to lose you. And I remember hanging up, and I thought to myself, man, I've got to take this guy on. I'm going to have to find something for him to do, because she has just put smoke up his Jaxie so far that there's a lot about this fella that I really need to know. So and for me personally, Kyle's become a very, very good friend. In fact, I treat him more like a very good mate and a brother, because he is, and I've embraced him and taken him in as like a family member, really. And I guess as fate goes, it's incredible, isn't it? I mean, you come over and we'd just bought our place, and then COVID hit us, and you're the man on the ground running. I mean, you're the man that was actually looking after this place for us. We were living in a different location at that stage, and by gosh, hasn't a lot happened since then though? Yeah.
Ton. Yeah, the first day I get here, we went up to Lake Linden and rode jet skis. We rode your jet ski that day, remember? Took some beers up there. I mean, that was my first day here. Yeah. And then he said to me, hey, I know you just got here, but we have a really big week and it'd be really beneficial for you to come on it. And I went, and I jumped in that machine with that client. It was like a huge...
You have to explain to people what a machine is, mate.
Oh, it's a helicopter. I'd never been in a helicopter before. And we had a big week. This guy had just shot the biggest stag on the place. We're staying up in this cabin right next to a waterfall. It was jungle. It was all new to me. And I was just beside myself with how awesome it was. And then all of a sudden, to end the week, Luke flies in. This is the first time I ever met Luke. He flies in and he parks up next to the cabin by the waterfall. And the first time I jumped in the machine, I just jumped in because we were running coolers down to the bottom of the mountain. And I was just like, holy shit, this is real. This is awesome. And then we flew around all day, and we went to Mount Cook, flew around that. We went down to Milford Sound. We had lunch on a beach on the west coast in the middle of nowhere. And we flew up Milford Sound, dropped the clients off in Queenstown, and then we flew back from Queenstown. And I remember it was like a 2-hour flight, just me and Luke. And he looked at me and he goes, you know, you can have a couple of those beers in that cooler in the back if you want. I said, you sure? He said, yeah, go ahead.
Good old Luke.
And I'm like, this is my first week here. This is crazy. This is better than I could have dreamed. Anyway, but all in all, it's a second home here. I feel really, really comfortable. And like you said, I treat you guys more like family, and you guys feel more like family to me than you do anything else. And I think that's really, really special. But what I wanted to get into more was not myself, even though it is a really awesome story how this got started. I wanted people to hear about your story, because you probably have the coolest story of anybody I know.
Oh, I've got lots of stories, mate.
That's what I'm saying.
What story are you talking about?
I don't know where you start. My favorite story is how you decided that, and maybe to start with the Alaska story.
When I first went to Alaska?
Yeah.
Well, it sort of stands back in time, I suppose. If I go back to my youth, when I left high school, I never really knew what I wanted to do. And however, my passion was fishing, hunting, diving, skiing, jet boating, rugby, fly fishing. So I wanted to have a job that was something that I knew I was good at and that I was actually passionate about. And fortunately for me, my whole life has actually gone that way. I've been very fortunate to follow my own nose. But back in those days, when I left school, I first worked on a ranch way up in the head of the mountains, because I thought, man, that's what I want to be. I want to be a rancher. But I didn't realise how isolated it was and how hard the work was. And I'm a hard worker, trust me, I was. But I was set out tasks way out in the middle of nowhere, and I realised to myself, man, this is a great lifestyle, and I actually was trapping and shooting possums. Now, our possums are a lot different to the possums in North America. Our possums, as a possum is, its creation and features are exactly the same. However, our possums come from Australia, and it's called the brush-tail possum because they're very, very fluffy, very furry, they're quite cute. So their pelts are worth a lot of money. So I used to shoot those and skin those and have trap lines. In fact, that's how I bought my first vehicle, was by selling possum skins. And so while I was on this ranch, I was in my weekends, and after work, I'd set trap lines, and that's how I was sort of earning extra money. But I realised that I'm only 18, and there's got to be more to life than being so isolated in this little cold cabin that I was living in, way up in these mountains. And what else can I do? I love my rugby, and I was missing my friends, and I was just starting to think about girls, and I was missing girls, and so I said to the landowner, his name was Bob Brown, real old school, real backcountry, high country man, the old cowboy hat and the little rolly old cigarette sticking out the side of his mouth all day. I said to him, man, I love my hunting so much that I really want to do something with hunting. So he was a part of a consortium of delegates that would make decisions on where certain farms and ranches needed control of their pests, and the pests were possums, pigs and rabbits. So I said to him, well man, I'd really be interested in getting a job like that. So he made a couple of phone calls. He goes, yeah, I've got something teed up for you way down south. So this is in the South Island of New Zealand. So anyway, I took this journey way down south into this place called Middlemarch, which is in the wintertime is a bone-ass cold place of New Zealand really, but a lot of rabbits there, sort of central Otago. And there were so many rabbits in this area. We used to go out at night time riding around on trail bikes, and we'd have like a big canvas bag that we'd filled up with diced carrots. So we'd ride around on trails and riding around on hills, all on private property, and we'd be throwing out diced carrot, and the diced carrot is just feeding the rabbits, because the rabbits were hungry because they'd eaten all the grass and they're burrowing into the soil. So they'd come out and they'd eat all this carrot. So then a week later we'd go back, do the same thing again, but the carrots would have poison on them. So in New Zealand we can use 1080 poison, one of the very, very few countries in the world that can still use it. So I did that for probably 9-10 months actually, and we'd do that during the day, and then in the evenings we'd go out and we'd go night shooting. So we'd be on the back of Land Cruisers and sometimes on our trail bikes as well, having a miner's helmet with a miner's light. We would use Ruger 1022s or shotguns. We used to average about 300 rabbits a night, and sometimes we'd go to the same place every night and shoot 300 rabbits just continuously. You just
That's unreal.
And you need to understand that in New Zealand we have no predators. There's no foxes, there's no wolves, there's no cats, there's no bears, there's no snakes, there's nothing that can hurt you in New Zealand. So all the animals that are here in New Zealand have been introduced to New Zealand. So obviously rabbits come in as a food source for obviously for eating, but also for their pelts, for skins, for gloves and hats and scarves, etc. Just like the possums were. But of course with no predators, they just keep breeding, they get out of hand. So it got to the stage that they were actually eating farmers off their country. So they would employ shooters such as myself to go out there and take care of them. But the trouble was, you get one neighbour, you get one property that would do it and the neighbour wouldn't do it. So of course there's no barrier to stop the rabbits from going from one place to another. So it was a bit of a dead end cause really, until someone actually brought in a virus from Australia called Khaleesi virus, which actually knocked the rabbits back and enabled the farmers to continue farming, yeah. However, digressing a little bit, getting back into stemming into Alaska. I know that was your question first off, Kyle, but...
No, that's wild to think. 300 rabbits a night.
It is, yeah.
300, did you skin them all and keep them, or did you just ditch most of them because you're...
No, just shoot and destroy, just carry on to the next one, mate.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just sit there and just bang, 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 you'd eat a magazine on them, mate, yeah. Obviously,
It was pest control.
You become a very good shot, yeah.
Oh, man.
And also it enabled me to get some good perks of going to work and hunt on other people's places, because I go and take care of the rabbits and they'd let me go and shoot their deer and their pigs, and so it was a good way to get your foot in the door to for your own hunting, which is what I love to do, yeah. So anyway...
So did you get sick of that and you moved on to something else?
No, I certainly did not get sick of that, mate. In fact, it was what I thought I was going to be doing for the rest of my life, because I loved it so much. Being a young fella, I was into hunting, riding trail bikes and riding around in four-wheel drives and throwing carrots out and poisoning stuff and killing stuff and shooting stuff and trapping stuff. I was just like, yeah. And then, of course, this little town of Middlemarch, I ended up playing rugby there and playing good rugby, and they had a few young girls in town, so it was... our rugby club used to have bus tours, so every Saturday we used to bus to different locations to play rugby, and of course it was a very social rugby. We used to play pretty hard rugby, and then after the game of rugby we'd have a few beers, and then a few of the local girls used to come and socialise with us, so it was always a good time. Yeah, so I certainly love that part of it. Yeah.
Awesome.
So, but in any case, the government at that stage got rolled, and an incoming government squashed the rabbit board, is what we called it back in those days, or officially it was called the Pest Destruction Council, and they made it user pays to the farmers. So then I started contracting to certain farmers, but the trouble with that was you get one farmer that would contract you go in there and you shoot his rabbits, and the neighbour wouldn't. So it was a bit of a lost cause until this Khaleesi virus came in. So then I thought, man, what am I going to do now? You know, they're giving us notice that this whole rabbit board's going to close down. So there's an application for a junior salesman in the fishing and hunting department at Cromer Merit Sports on 110 Casual Street in Christchurch. Now, I never thought I'd ever work in the city, because I'm a country boy and I did not like cities. But I guess the lure of graphite fly rods and brand new rifles and really good rugby and lots of city girls was quite attractive. So anyway, I put in this job application and I was obviously the candidate that got the job, and I went there and spent 3 years in the city of Christchurch, which is the largest city in the South Island of New Zealand. And
it wasn't so bad living in the city?
No.
Because really, it's not that far. It's not that far to get out into the country. That's what I think about Christchurch. It's like, yeah, you're in the city, but you're really not that far from, I mean, the ocean's right there if you want to go for a surf or a swim or whatever. And
yeah.
Seriously, in 45 minutes you can be in the hills hunting.
Yeah, and then skiing's right there. Obviously, snow skiing and jet boating and fishing and diving. It's all there. Everything they love to do. And the rugby was there, and the girls were there. And
perfect.
Yeah, well, I thought it was actually. Yeah. So I'm this junior salesman working in the fishing and hunting department, and writing out fishing and hunting licenses for the odd tourist that would come in. And then an American fella came in and gave me this book, which was a hunting magazine in North America. It may have even been called the North American Hunter, I can't really remember, but on the front cover of this magazine was a doll sheep, pure white sheep lying down in this grassy meadow with these big curling horns. Like, oh my gosh, we have nothing like this in New Zealand. How much I would love to go and hunt that. So I flicked through this magazine for a number of days, and then there's stories of caribou hunting and mountain goat hunting and moose hunting, and I thought, oh my gosh, I want to go there. So I was driven with this different species than what we have in New Zealand, in a different country that has countryside just like New Zealand, to want to go there. So I thought, man, I'm going to go there one day. That was my dream. And then that dream come to fruition after 3 years. I saved enough money to buy a brand new backpack and put the New Zealand flag on the back of it, and sold all my possessions, sold my vehicle. I said to Mum and Dad, see you later. Asked one of my best mates that hunts and fishes and dives with me and skis with me if he wants to come. He's a builder. He said, no, I'm too busy, man, I'm sorry. I said, well, I'm going anyway. So away I went. Now, I didn't know anybody in Alaska. I flew to Anchorage, Alaska.
No plan?
No plan whatsoever. Just got the backpack on with a New Zealand flag on the back of it, and hopefully that's going to serve me right, which it certainly did. So I get to the Anchorage airport, and then I'll walk out of the airport with no plan other than going fishing and hopefully hunting. And I stuck my thumb out as a hitchhiker, and the first vehicle that came along was an RV. Now, I didn't know what an RV was, but to us it's like a big camper van, but it's a recreational vehicle. So and the guy opens up the door, and I says to him, g'day mate, how you going? And he goes, Crocodile Dundee. Jump in, mate. I'll never forget it. So I jumped in. So I got in there and I sat in the front seat, and he said, where you going? And I said, man, I don't know. He said, well, what are you doing here? I said, I was coming here to go fishing and hunting. He goes, man, really? He said, well, I'm about to head down fishing. I'm going to the Kenai River. And as soon as he said that, I went, oh my goodness, I've read about the Kenai River in this hunting magazine that I got back in New Zealand. He goes, yeah, it's one of the best salmon rivers, fishing rivers in the world. He said, I've got a cabin right on the river. I'm going down there for 10 days. I went, oh my gosh. So anyway, he said, look, I'm here by myself. You're welcome to tag along with me. We're just going to go and buy a few groceries and we'll head that way. I said, perfect, man. So we bought some stores and we're cruising along the Seward Highway. I'll never forget it. And as I'm looking around the vehicle, right at my feet was this revolver with a belt with all these bullets in it. I went, whew. Okay, so in New Zealand we don't have revolvers, we don't have handguns in New Zealand. So I'm looking at this and I'm, man, I wonder what this guy does with this stuff. He must be protecting himself from the bears that they've got up here in Alaska. So anyway, we were cruising along the Seward Highway, and he says to me, do you smoke? I go, no, I don't. I'm actually pretty active. I love my sports and all that sort of stuff. Well, then you don't mind if I do? I said, no. Thinking that, that's your vehicle, no worries. As he's driving along in his RV, he pulls out of his wherever, and he had this massive doobie, which is like a massive joint, which looked like a cigar to me, and he starts chugging on this thing. And I'm thinking, and he's smoking out the whole RV, and I'm thinking, oh my God, what have I got myself into? Here I am, driving down the Seward Highway with this crazy man smoking this massive doobie, and at my foot is this revolver. What's going to happen? So I couldn't help myself. I said to him, is that normal practice here in Alaska? Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Right, okay, yeah. He said, oh, because he obviously seen me looking at the revolver. You go, don't worry about that, man. Don't worry about that, man. That's my work pistol. I said, oh yeah. What sort of work do you do? Thinking, why does he need a pistol for work? And he was a security guard at the airport.
Oh my God.
Yeah. True story, man. True story. Yeah. So anyway, long story short, 10 days, man. A great guy, and drunk my first Budweiser. That was just it was like drinking cat piss, wasn't it? You know, but never drink that stuff again. But had a great time, and Dave was his name. And in fact, the fishing was so good, I actually broke my fishing rod, and we met this other young fella that had come up from Seattle. He had a vehicle, he was camping in his vehicle, and we met him on the river every day and said, man, come to Dave's cabin, he's got plenty of room. And we just chilled out and hung out for quite some time, and Dave eventually had to go back to work, and this young fella and I hung out, and we went back into Anchorage because I needed to replace my fishing rod, and he dropped me off there, and I went into King Sports in Anchorage, Alaska, and I bought a fishing rod, and the young fellow that served me said, oh, where are you from? So I'm from New Zealand. He goes, oh man, I know a guy that runs a tackle shop up around the corner here, and he goes to New Zealand every year. I said, is that right? He goes, yeah, you should go and see him. I said, oh, actually I will. So anyway, I trundled off and found this little place. It's called Rod and Reel. The guy's name was Mike Hirschberger. And I walked in there, and I will never forget this, man. I walked in, and and it's a specialist fly fishing shop, so fly rods and all the little knickknacks for fly fishing, and right at the end of his fly fishing shop was a door, and on that door was a cardboard cutout of a New Zealand beer label, right like that right there, plastered on the back wall. So I was just drawn to it, went, oh my gosh, straight to that door, and then beside the door on the wall was a New Zealand flag, and beside that flag was fishing licenses from New Zealand. I thought, man, this guy has fished in New Zealand. As I'm looking at the fishing licenses, there was 2 fishing licenses there with my signature on from the fishing shop, Cromwell Merritt Sports, back in Christchurch.
Way.
Life is
that crazy?
Life is so small, man. You know, the world is so small, but no, it's real. Yeah. So anyway, he was busy, and I just hung around, and then he got my attention, and I said, hey, here you go. And, you know, you're not going to believe this, mate, but that's my signature up there. He goes, man, I thought you looked familiar. I said, yeah. Anyway, we started chatting away. He said, what are you here for? I said, I'm here fishing and hunting, you know. One of his customers was listening to our conversation. He said, look, I've got a boat, I've got a van, I'm by myself, I'm going fishing, you're welcome to come with me. I said, oh, look, that's really nice of you, mate. I mean, you guys are so gracious here, it's incredible, but I feel like I need to, you know, pay my way in some way. He said, no, I've got you covered. Come on, let's go. So away I went. Didn't know this guy at all. His name was Leon Webber. Now, Leon Webber, incredible man. I've met some incredible people in my life, and he's certainly one of them. And I jump in his vehicle, and we go and buy some supplies, and off we go. We go to this beautiful lake. You can picture this beautiful lake in Alaska, crystal clear blue, with all these beautiful pine trees around it, and beautiful mountains. And it was just, we were the only ones there. Now this guy strips off. He's a big man. He strips off bone-ass naked. He's in the nut. And he runs down and does his belly flop into the lake, and he's swimming around like, come on, Shane, come on in here. I thought, what the hell have I got myself into here?
No.
The first guy's a smoker. The second guy's a nudie. Oh, anyway.
Well, that had been freezing cold water.
God, was it what? Shrink his dickus. Yeah, absolutely. But in any case, hey, look, mate, he's a top man, and I class him as a very good friend, and he really took great care of me, and we had some great fishing, and I went back to his home and had a great time. Honestly, ended up playing rugby in Anchorage, and made the Alaska rugby team, and met some really nice women along the ways. And
so when you flew there, you didn't have a return flight?
I probably did. Back in those days, you had to have a visa to get into America, and the visa lasted 6 months. Yeah. So I certainly spent a fair bit of time in Alaska, yeah.
So you had to have a visa just to even come visit?
Yes, it's called a visitor's visa. Yeah, so I didn't have a working visa because you had to have a green card to work there.
All right.
So I was on a visitor's visa, which leads me into the next part of the story, which is probably a story that I don't know if I should be sharing with everybody. But,
I think it's great.
But it's part
So
of
good.
it's part of my journey. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so getting back to Anchorage, I said to Leon, I said, hey, look, I really appreciate you putting me up and looking after me, but I need to do some work for people. I need to pay my way because I'm burning through my cash. And so in any case, I ended up, he did some homework for me through a couple of people, and I ended up working in a sport shop in Alaska, just casually. And it was casual because my idea of fishing and hunting was still what I wanted to do. However, I needed to pay my way and pay my bills. But the people that had the sport shop, they knew that I didn't have a work visa, because I obviously told them, and I said, look, this is what the deal is, and if you're keen to take me on, you need to understand that I'm only on a visitor's visa, and then that runs out at a certain time. They said, well, we need a hand here, so no, we're happy to pay you whatever the rate was at that time. And so I worked a couple of days, and they obviously could see a bit of potential in me, so then they upped my wage a bit more and wanted me to work more, and the wage went up, and so did my time there. And I said, hey, I appreciate the up in the wage, but I want to spend less time working and more time playing, because that's what I'm here for. And one day, met lots of people, great time. And one day I was in the shop, and there was a phone call. They used to call me Kiwi, obviously being a New Zealander, Kiwis. Oh, Kiwi, the phone's for you. So I picked up the phone and hello, it's Kiwi here. And then they hung up. I thought, oh, that's weird. Anyway, carried on doing what I was doing, and I was actually serving somebody in the sports shop, and then I heard this voice saying, is there a Shane Johnston here? And one of the other staff members said, yeah, that's him over there. So they walked over, are you Shane Johnston? I said, yes, I am. And then, mate, it was just like the movies. This guy opens up his trench coat, flashes out all these badges and go, I'm customs and immigration, blah, 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 and I believe that you're working here illegally. And my heart just sunk, man. I thought, man, my dreams of this doll sheep and this moose and this caribou have just been squashed. He said, we're taking you with us. And they took me away, put me in handcuffs, and I had to grab my bag. Well, they grabbed my bag, my possessions, and they put me in a patrol car. There was 3 of them.
3 guys?
3 guys, yeah. There was one big darker guy and 2 light colour fellas, yeah. And I'm thinking, man, this is like the movies. This is unreal. So we're driving down the road, and they said, right, you need to tell us what's going on. I said, no, I've seen the movies. I don't need to tell you guys anything.
That's what you said?
Yeah, because, you know, little New Zealand, we see the movies, and it's just like a movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, so I'm just doing what the actors say, you know, no.
Oh, my God.
So they pull over, and they get me out, and this big darker guy, he throws me on the back of what we call a boot, but you guys call it a trunk, throws me out, and he points a finger at me, goes, here, little white fella.
He did.
He did. Now, look here, little white fella. I'm going to send you somewhere where big black fellas like me are going to like little white fellas like you for a long time.
Said that?
Oh, yeah. So I said, what do you want to know?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh, what do you want to know?
Oh.
I said, hey, look, mate, I'm bloody here. I'm working. I ran out of money. And, you know, I said, I'm paying my taxes. I was just put down a full social security number, and I wasn't ripping off the system at all. I'm a hard worker, and I'm paying my way, but I wanted to pay my way. You know, I've run out of money. So they took me downtown to the office and locked me up in a little cell. And anyway, the big wig down there gets me out and goes, hey, we've had a lot of phone calls about you. I said, oh yeah. A lot of people are worried about you. I said, oh yeah. A lot of people care about you. Well, that's nice. He goes, but unfortunately, you've got to go. Yeah, no. He said, normally, we'd put you on a flight straight out of here. So Anchorage, Alaska, the straightaway flight would be from Anchorage to Japan to Australia to New Zealand. It's a long way. Okay, right, and it's leaving in 3 hours. Oh, wow, man, I've got all these friends, and I've made I was with this girlfriend, and I was thinking about all my dreams have just been squashed. He goes, however, we've had such a recourse of people chanting such good things about you. You're obviously not a bad person. You've obviously just done something a little bit wrong, which is obviously against the law. Yes, it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to put you on a flight tomorrow. They've organised a big party for you tonight, so you can go and have your party with all your friends, and then, but we want to see you at the airport tomorrow morning. We're going to keep your passport. I said, oh, well, that's really nice of you. Thanks very much. So, yeah, massive party, as you can imagine. No one went to bed, of course. And all my friends stuck me on the plane at 11 o'clock in the morning. They were waiting for me, so they escorted me onto the plane, and I fly from Anchorage to Tokyo. And I'm thinking, man, I've never been to Japan. I wonder what it's like here. So I get out, and we're in transit. And because I had my passport with me, so I go through transit. Next minute, all these bells and whistles are going. I'm thinking, geez. And all these little nippers come along and pretty much pick me up and take me to this office. And then an interpreter comes and goes, what are you doing? What are you doing? I said, oh, I just thought I'd just go and have, my plane doesn't leave till whatever time tonight, and I've got all day, so I thought I'd just go and check out Japan. No. Because I looked at my passport. And in my passport, what they did is they cut the top corners of my passport. Every corner of my passport was off. And then had a black vivid line through every page. And then when it came to the American visa, it was cancelled. So when they see that, and obviously they typed into the computer and they read that, they knew that I was probably someone that they didn't trust. So don't let them into your country. So I had to wait in this cell all day. And then they escorted me onto the plane, so everyone on the airplane thought I was a bad person.
Oh, no.
I don't think I was just unfortunate. Yeah.
And you're young, you're 20 years old.
Yeah, I was, yeah. So then I get home, and of course I get home to New Zealand. No one knew I was coming home to New Zealand. I didn't want to be home in New Zealand. And I had no money, so I didn't ring up anyone. I just hitchhiked from the airport out towards home, and so I was back home. Got the old job back, and thought, man. So back in those days, having a visa to get to America was a pretty big thing, and it lasted for 5 years. So I couldn't get a visa back to America for 10 years. So which was a big thing. I mean, it really squashed my dream. But any case, fast forward 10 years, and I spent, a lot of things happened. I went back to the old sports shop and thought, man, I want to get back there. I know it's going to take me some time, but I need a big paying job. What can I do that I can earn lots of money to go travel and create my little empire, I suppose. And back at the sports shop, a few Americans would come in. I'd write out the fishing licenses. They'd come back to me and they'd say, oh, I didn't see anything, didn't catch anything, didn't hunt anything. So I used to take them out on my weekends or after work or on my holidays. And some of these guys used to be very, very gracious and would tip me a gratuity. And some of these gratuities were more than a month's work working at the sports shop, just for a day's work. And I went, this is unbelievable that people want to gift me money more than what I can earn at a sports shop to do something that I know I'm good at and something that I love and something that I'm really passionate about. And that's when the penny dropped. That's when I went, I'm going to be a hunting guide. I'm going to be a fishing guide. I'm going to be, well, what do you want me to be? If they want to pay me money, that's awesome. So all of a sudden I made a business card, and it was probably Shane Johnston Hunting and Fishing Tours New Zealand or something. And getting customers from the shop was a great thing. But it made me realise that, man, to travel the world hunting and fishing like these people are doing is what I want to do. Yeah. Now all of a sudden I'm starting to think about hunting properties and hunting lodges, and gosh, man, I want to do that. So that spurred an interest to get a good paying job to create the next portion of my destiny. Yeah. It's thirsty work, all this talking, isn't it?
Freaking awesome stories. I mean, you could make a movie just about what you've done already. And then to lead into the next thing, what you decided that you needed to do to, pay your way. Do we need to worry about dinner?
Do we need to worry about dinner?
Do we, folks?
Do we need to eat?
There are people in there, and I didn't know if they're waiting for us. I just got the sense of it. It just came into my mind.
Well, we could go and check, and we could get back to you. Yeah.
So we've been hunting all week. We're at Shane's beautiful place here, and we've had Shane's has some clients in. We did a bit of filming for them, and this is their last night here, so they're just in visiting with their guide, and he's entertaining them, hopefully. And everybody's doing a great job.
Yeah.
So Shane's wife Vanessa is making a gourmet meal, surely.
Yeah, without a doubt.
But they definitely tend to wait on us because we get into things like this and we enjoy this more than eating sometimes.
We actually do. We're actually not even hungry.
Yeah.
In fact, we'd rather be here by ourselves anyway. Is that naughty? Yeah, but we are naughty.
Clearly.
You're naughty, naughty, naughty. So where I last was back in the sports shop, doing the potential guiding thing, casually, seeing the potential in what I wanted to particularly probably do with the rest of my life. How am I going to get there? What's my end goal? My end goal was to have an outfit, have a lodge, have a property. It's going to take some money, because everything does, unfortunately. It's just reality. And then also to learn about marketing and how do I get my customers. So first things first, I've got to get some money. I'm only earning $123.40 a week at the sports shop. I remember that, because that's all I got paid for 3 years. Exactly the same wage, $123.40. That's New Zealand dollars. You get your calculator out, work out what that is in American dollars. So in any case, one day at morning tea when I'm in the staff room, I was having my hot drink and I'm flicking through this magazine, and all of a sudden I've seen the story about prawn trawlers. So prawns that live in the ocean, these trawlers are out there fishing for them at the northern part of Australia. And it talked about how dangerous it was, but how much money they made. And I just went, boom, that's what I'm going to do. So I went downstairs and I talked to the owner of the store and said, I'm going to be leaving here soon. I'm off to Australia. I'm going to go and make my money over there, and this will be the last time that you'll probably see me. He said, oh, but I've got a management role in front of you, and maybe you want to take on this portion of the tackle box, which is a portion of the Cromwell Merit Sports. And I said, look, I don't want to do that. This has been a stepping stone to what I think I really want to do. I don't want to work inside. I don't want to be cooped up in an office. I don't want to try and sell fishing hooks and fishing rods and rifles to people. I want to actually go out in the field and actually do what I love to do and what I know I'm good at. He goes, well, I wish you all the very best. So anyway, off to Australia I go, not knowing when the season was, which was a bit crazy really. I flew from Christchurch, which was, we live out at the base of the mountains about an hour from Christchurch. It was in May, there's snow on the ground at home. Went into Christchurch, flew to
No plan.
No plan. No, didn't know anybody, once again. But I wasn't scared of anything, mate.
You knew where you needed to be.
I just had to go and make money, yeah. And I could see this is a portion of what. So a little bit of history about fishing. My grandfather had his own fishing boat here in New Zealand. So and my father, we always went trout fishing, salmon fishing, and my dad's always had boats, but my grandfather had a big fishing boat and never got on it, didn't know anything about it really, didn't see him much at all in my life, but it was obviously in my blood, the fishing thing. Love my diving. I was right into scuba diving and snorkeling, and off to Australia I go. So I get there in May and I get to the airport and I get outside and it's like 100 degrees, and I left New Zealand and it was about 32 degrees, and the humidity hit me and the flies that stick to you. I thought, man, this is totally different, and it's flat and it's hot. And so I booked myself into the local backpackers or youth hostel, whatever it was back in the day, and walked my way down to what they call the duck pond, which is in Darwin, which is where all the boats come and go from for fishing and recreation. And when I went down there, there's a few prawn trawlers down there, and I went and talked to the crews, and they were boats that were broken down. The season's already been going for like 3 weeks, and so I actually timed it pretty right, luckily. However, I spent the next 2 weeks trying to get a job. No one wanted to employ me because I had no experience, and all the prawn trawlers are out, and when they go out and they stay out until they get their quota. So every day I'm down there looking for a job. And one particular day, which is the day that changed my life really, there's this big super yacht looking boat that turned up, and it was too big to come into the duck pond, so he had to pull alongside the wharf. And then I watched this boat, and I watched the people on it, and You couldn't get to it because they had security guards and gates, etc. And the Australians, compared to New Zealanders, are pretty lazy when it comes to work. So the Australians love to take on New Zealanders for work because we're hard workers. So, and don't mix us up for Australians either, because a lot of people think we're very much the same, but we're actually not. Even though we're brothers, we're from a different country and we do speak differently. If you put an Australian beside me when we started talking, you'd realise that there is a difference in an accent. It'd be just like an American and a Canadian. To us, you both roll your R's, you sound similar, but you're completely different. So I'm watching this boat from a distance and I'm looking at these security guards. I've done this for like 2 or 3 days, and these security guards at like 10 o'clock, 10:30 in the morning, they would leave the gates and they'd go and have their cup of coffee or whatever, I suppose. So that's when the gates went manned. So I thought, man, I'm going to sneak through those gates when those guys are not there. So I'm actually not a bad person. I'm actually not. Really, I'm not. I've got a little bit of guts. I mean, I'm just not afraid of a lot of things, and I'll give things a go. So, and I knew I had to get on that boat. I don't know what that boat was about, who owned the boat, what it does. It just looked flash. And whoever was involved with that boat had a lot of money, and that was my attraction. So I slipped through these gates, went down to the boat, and I'll never forget it. There's this big, burly, muscly guy sweeping the back of the boat. He was probably 6'4" and probably 300 pound of hard muscle. And I said, "Oh, how you going there?" "Yeah, you good, what are you up to?" I said, "Oh, I've come here to speak to the skipper." And he goes, "Oh, have you got an appointment, have you?" I said, "Yeah, here at 11 o'clock. It was probably 10 to 11. And he said, "Oh, you better jump on." So I jumped on the boat. So I'm following this big muscly guy right through the boat. And of course I'm looking at this boat thinking, what does this boat do? It's not a cruise liner. It's not a super yacht, even though it looks like it from the outside. It had big holding tanks, and I'm walking through it. And then we go upstairs to the flying bridge, and we're up there in this wheelhouse, and there's, including the big muscly guy, there's 4 other people. So there's 5 plus me is 6. So I'm the last one in the door, and then there's this circle of people and all this technology to run a big boat. And this guy's name was Tony, and Tony said to Toph, the skipper, "Oh, this is Shane Johnston, he's got a 11 o'clock appointment with you." He goes, "Shane Johnston? Oh, I've got no 11 o'clock appointment with you." I said, "Well, you do now." He goes, "Well, who are you?" I said, "Well, I'm someone that you need to know." And everyone starts laughing. "Well, who are you?" I said, "I'm about to take this guy's job." This guy's job was the big musty guy. And he looks down at me like, "Who the hell are you?" And I said, "Look, mate, I don't have a, look, I'll come clean. I don't have an appointment with you. You know that. But here I am. I'm on your boat. It was easy to get in. The security guards, they're a piece of shit. You know, I got on this big musty guy. Didn't stop me getting on. Here I am now. And I can do anything to you guys or say what I like, can't I?" "Okay, so you got our attention. What is it that you want?" I said, "I need a job." "Well, what can you do?" I said, "What does this boat do?" I still didn't know what this boat. I still didn't know what this boat did. And he goes, "We're a pearling vessel." I said, "A pearling vessel?" He goes, "Yeah." So I said, "Well, you dive for pearls?" He goes, "Yeah, that's what we do." I said, "So what's with all those tanks?" He said, "Well, we dive for pearls, and the shells come up, and we cultivate pearls in these oysters." So I was like, "How do I get a job there?" He shook his head. "You're not going to get a job doing that. We get divers from, the best divers from all around the world come here to get that job." I said, I want to get a job. "I know you want to get a job doing that, but you won't get a job doing it." I said, "Well, how can I prove myself?" He said, "You're a gutsy little bugger, aren't you?" I said, yeah, I need a job, you know. So he said, "Right, let me just make a phone call." So he phoned from the boat, from Darwin, Northern Territory of Australia, to a guy by the name of Russell Hannigan, I'll never forget it, down in Western Australia. And he says, "Look, I've got this young cocky Kiwi kid that really wants a job. Have you got a job for him?" And he goes, "Yeah, no, I've got a job for him. Send him down." So he goes, "Righto, there's a job for you. You just got to be at this place at a certain date and time, and this is the guy's name, and he's got a job for you down there." I said, "Perfect, great, thanks very much." Now I didn't have any money to fly, and so I had to catch a bus, and it took me 2.5 days on a bus. No sleeping, you know, to stop and sleep. You're sleeping on the bus. And we'd stop into the odd roadhouse to get something to eat, go to the bathroom, back onto the bus, and away you go again. The 2.5 days on the bus wasn't that bad. What was bad was actually being on the bus with the local natives, which are called Aborigines. And for those that don't know much about Aborigines, Aborigines are the most native of the native species of human beings. They can't speak English. They'll never know how to speak English. They are so, like, civilization is not their thing. They would live out in the boondocks and they're happier there than being a part of civilization. So the smell of them on the bus was not very pleasant. So that's one thing that I remember. It's not a very nice thing, but it's true. Yeah, because I've been there and done it. Yeah. So anyway, guys, go down there. I meet Russell Hannigan. He goes, right, I'll be here tomorrow and we're going to take you out to a place called Deepwater Point. And Deepwater Point was on the coast of Western Australia, just south of Broome, out on this peninsula, the most beautifulest place. So I go out there and it's a pearl farm. So if you can imagine all these long lines with buoys at each end, and they've got like droppers, and they've got like a 6-panel pocket net, and they've got pearl shells on them, so 6 shells to a panel. And the idea of the pearl farm was to look after the health of the oyster, which is cultivating the pearl, the cultured pearl, and they have a cleaning crew that goes around and takes care of them. So I get there, and there's all these Kiwi boys there. There was only 2 Australians there and about 8 Kiwi boys, and most of these Kiwi boys were our native Kiwi boys, which are known as Maoris or Māoris. I got talking to them, and the big, strong, strapping-looking fellas, and they said, oh, hey, boy, you need to go out there and dive those lines. This is on the first morning. I said, oh, yeah? Just by myself? Yeah, just take that boat out there and go out there and just anchor off the line and just go along and just clean up all those oysters. So I did. So I spent the whole day out there. And what that entailed was taking out the oyster. So a pearl oyster is like a big scallop. So it hinges. It's about the size of your hand. It hinges, and naturally it lives on the ocean floor, and it's got like hair, which is like grass, which attaches to the bottom of the ocean bed, particularly a reef. So it keeps itself there, and then it opens up and it's feeding on plankton. So when it's on the oyster line or the long line, it's in the nets sitting up like this, and then of course it's still going to grow barnacles and sponges and little crustaceans that can actually inhibit the shell from opening up and staying healthy. So the idea is to take them out of the net, and then there's a chopping block with lead around it, and you'd have like a meat cleaver, and you chop all the sponges and barnacles off it so it's nice and clean, and then you put it back in its pocket. So you're supposed to go around this once every 6 weeks. You do this for a whole year, because in the pearl oyster, so when you dive for them out in the wild, you take any natural pearl out of it, which is discoloured and distorted in size and shape and colour, and they put a perfect little seed, which is made of clamshell, and they insert that into the scrotum of the oyster. It closes up, goes onto the farm cleans it, and over that course of the year, the mother of pearl, which is a shell, is protecting that little piece of grit. And how she protects it is coating it, and she coats it with what they call nacre. And nacre is like that luster of the pearl that we all know of. So it keeps coating it so that little nuclei gets bigger and bigger. I mean, some of them get over 20 mils in size. So if you keep them nice and healthy, it produces a good pearl, which is worth a lot of money. So my first day was out there, and I thought, man, these oysters haven't been cleaned for months. They're disgustingly dirty. Anyway, I did a whole line, and at the end of the day, I was really exhausted, and I come back in, parked up the boat, and went ashore, and all these Maori boys are all sitting in the same shed, and they're all still there. So I was the only one that had been out there all day, and it was a really rough ocean, and they said, oh, how'd you go out there, boy? I said, yeah, no, good. Well, how much did you do? I said, well, I did that whole line like you told me to. Like, you finished it? I said, yep. You finished that whole line? I said, yeah, every panel, that whole long line. Did you see that cage out there? I said, yeah. Was there anything in it? I said, well, I didn't really have a look. I mean, what is that cage? They said, it's a crocodile cage. We've had a problem crocodile here for 6 weeks, and we have not and will not go out and clean those lines. So that was my apprenticeship to be a pearl farm worker. Yeah, it was. Yeah. So you create a lot of respect, but you know, you pay the rest, don't you? Yeah. So there was a problem crocodile because there's lots of mangroves and he was hanging around. And
Did you encounter him ever?
I didn't. I seen photos from some of the boys would show me later on, you know. But yeah, he was definitely there. But there's sharks. I mean, it's the ocean, isn't it? There's
Right.
But crocodiles were certainly the bigger thing to fear. Yeah. So I knew after doing this was just a labour of, I wouldn't call it love, but it was just labour, and it was a pretty good pay compared to what I was getting paid back in New Zealand, back at the sports shop.
It was a stepping stone to get to where you wanted to be.
But then I realised that there's got to be more to this. How do I get a job diving on the big boats out in the ocean for these wild oysters? And the next chapter of this story is when the mothership, which was called Paspali 3, which is the name of this boat, she came in to harvest all the pearl oysters from this deep water point that it was on. And when she came in, I got to know the divers, and I got to know the skipper and the fleet master, and I just handed them, look, man, I want a job. I want to do the job that these guys are diving for out in the ocean, because I knew that's where the big money was, and well, big money for me back in the day. Anyway, long story short, I finished up at the pearl farm, and the fleet master said, right, I'll be back here at a certain day and time. I'm not going to promise you a job, but we'd like to take on 2 spare head divers, but you've been a thorn in our ass. That's pretty much what he said. You're so damn persistent, we can't help but not give you a go. So come and have a go, and it's between you and someone else to be the spare diver for the whole fleet. So, gosh, there's quite a bit to explain how it all works, but I turned up this day and there's like 60 divers from all around the world, the best of the best, and I'm standing around walking around these guys not knowing who most of them were, and just went, man, God, this is incredible.